the BCCI done more damage to IPL for than good? Joining us to discuss that, Ayaz Memon, senior sports journalist. Also with us, Hitesh Jain, partner at ALMT Legal. Gentlemen, many thanks for joining in. Hitesh, I'll start with you. It's very likely that both these teams are going to be taking the legal remedial route against this BCCI order. What are the options before Rajasthan Royals and Kings 11 Punjab?
Well, the options according to me is there are two issues that needs to be answered. Whether the termination of the franchisee agreement is legal, and second, what are the consequences of such termination. Now, as regards the termination of franchisee agreement, it appears that the franchisee agreement has been terminated basically on the ground that the bid was submitted by one party and the agreement was signed with another party. There is also a defense that when the bid was submitted, it was said that the details were given and in the end the word "and others" was added. So basically on that basis it may be possible for the franchisee to contend that the other names were added. But if the bid terms clearly provides that you have to provide the clear details of the consortium or the shareholders, and if the bid documents have been submitted by a different party and the agreement has been signed with another party, then that is one issue. Now this puts a point that there may be some grounds for as regards the legality of the termination, but the real effect is what is the consequence of such termination, because under the law the legal position in India consistently which has been upheld by the Supreme Court, that franchisee agreements are concerned, they are agreements where you cannot seek a specific performance of this agreement. Once terminated, the remedy for the aggrieved party lies only for damages, because these are the contracts which are of determinable nature and a party cannot seek a specific performance of the franchisee agreement. So according to me, the real worry for the franchisee owners will be that assuming they are able to prove that whether that the termination was not legal and it was a complete illegal, but the problem will be what will be the consequence and the remedy they are going to eventually get from the court.
Hitesh, if you can just explain that to us. You're saying that if the franchisee does indeed prove that, whether the termination was illegal or not valid, all he can actually get is some sort of compensation?
Yes, because there has been a consistent judgments of the Supreme Court and which has said that the franchisee agreements are of determinable nature. So as I put it across, let's take the first issue. Suppose the first issue that needs to be answered, whether the franchisee agreements were terminated illegally, and I will assume for the sake of argument that I will assume that the franchisee agreements are illegal, and if the court has to eventually grant a remedy, the court will have to consider as to whether the court should grant a specific performance of the agreement and ask the BCCI to retain the franchisee, restore the franchisee agreement, or the BCCI or they can pass a eventual remedy of damages. So in this case, the law has been that the only remedy they will be entitled to will be for the damages, and this is precise reason as I read in the newspapers today, where it is said that the BCCI has earmarked certain sum of money which may eventually, if the courts decide, it may be required to earmark for the portion of damages.
Okay, so you're saying that the remedial measure really as far as franchisee owners will be to get some sort of compensation from the BCCI, and that has legal precedent. But let me go to Ayaz Memon now. Ayaz, the president of BCCI says in both these cases the initial bid was made by one company, but the agreement with the IPL was entered into with another company. Why is it that the BCCI has woken up to this discrepancy 3 years after these auctions actually took place?
Well, that's one of the big mysteries of how the IPL has been functioning over the 3 years, because if so many things, so many sins of omission and commission were discovered after the 3rd year, then so obviously a lot of people were sleeping or apathetic when things were going wrong in the first couple of years, certainly. So I think to hang everything on one person, perhaps that person is responsible, but what were all the other people doing?
Hitesh, come in on that. Was it a case where the ownership of these companies were just not known to the larger governing council of the IPL? Is that the inference that one can draw?
Well, it will depend upon, see that is one issue that the IPL or the BCCI will have to answer as to whether the BCCI was in fact aware, because as regards, what can be argued on behalf of the franchisee is that there is a doctrine of indoor management, and as far as concerned, Mr. Modi was aware, and therefore we take it, we will take the position that BCCI was aware. But it is possible for BCCI to take the contention that in fact Modi, even if the Modi was aware, the BCCI was not aware. where they can draw a distinction between Modi and BCCI, and since the BCCI can take the contention that BCCI was always kept in the dark, or the IPL was kept in the dark, and the agreements where no proper procedure was followed, and if they are able to prove that at this stage they have been able to discover all these facts, I mean, this is going to be a critical factor as to when did the BCCI get the knowledge of the entire thing. So this is going to be a critical factor. However, it is possible for the BCCI to state that since ED and income tax authorities and everybody were investigating the case, and these authorities have brought to the notice of the BCCI about the violation, and that is how the BCCI decided to act. So it is possible for them to make a distinction between Modi and BCCI.
Okay, you know, as a former BCCI lawyer, Hitesh, you were talking about that Enforcement Directorate investigation that is currently on. There has been no final ED report, at least not in the public domain. There's been a lot of sort of speculation on whether that's actually prompted the BCCI action or not. We also understand that the BCCI has actually gotten a legal opinion from the Attorney General, and on that basis have decided to go ahead. How strong, on the basis of the facts that we publicly know of, is the BCCI case looking?
Well, you don't need to have a formal report of Enforcement Directorate also, because what is important is that whether you have got a knowledge of about the violation, and if the BCCI decides to do its own investigation, and upon its own investigation it comes to the conclusion that there has been indeed a violation, proper procedure was not followed, and the contract was not awarded properly, certainly BCCI can revisit all the issues and can come to the conclusion that this is that they have conducted the investigation, and now that they have got the knowledge that there has been a violation, we are taking the action, and according on that basis they will justify their actions.
Ayaz, a tough question. Do you think IPL 4 will happen? The owners of Rajasthan Royals and Kings 11 Punjab seem to have rallied support of other team owners who've also expressed their displeasure over the way the BCCI has acted in this case. Is it going to affect the tournament?
Very difficult question to answer. I'm sure that both the team owners or promoters will go in for legal remedy. You can go in for fast track courts and try and ensure that, you know, because look, at the end of the day, remember that Punjab was wanting to sell off a stake or the entire team. So this stalls that attempt also. Rajasthan was in a bit of a problem with the ownership shareholding pattern. There's been some talk going on about it. Maybe they also wanted to sell some stake, which has not happened. So both have commercial interests to kind of protect. The other is that the IPL, suddenly IPL 4 can't be of 7 teams or 6 teams, because that would give a big blow to the broadcasters and everybody else associated with it. So there has to be a minimum quorum, I feel, of 8 teams. Even if Punjab and Rajasthan are knocked off, they've got Sahara, which is there at 7, and they'll hope that Kochi can get their act together and, you know, make it 8. Having said that, if 2 teams are knocked out like that, I wouldn't be very happy if I was a franchise owner. I was just wondering what the hell is going on.
Alright, this saga is likely to continue. Ayaz Memon and Hitesh Jain, many thanks for joining us on What's Hot, but we're not done.